For the first video, I wanted to really focus on something that we could release to our entire client base and our entire community at large, something that is obviously archery specific, but something that everyone can gain from, and hopefully use this over this sort of next couple of weeks, months, so that they can improve their shooting down the line. So specifically something that is not dependent on actually having your own equipment. You don't need your own bow for this. You don't even need elastics. I want to focus on just a few core exercises and a few core principles that I'm going to explain in this video to make sure that we can, or that anybody that applies these can make a pretty big improvement in their shooting down the line. So basically there's two things that I would say are probably the most important things that you can do to improve your ability to shoot a bow. So the first one would be what we would call core stability. So the reason why I say core stability as opposed to core strength is that core strength arguably would be referred to being able to hold your core together and have a strong core during or under movement. The difference here is that with archery, what we're wanting is a strong core that holds the stability under load as opposed to movement. So it's not hard to get the body to stand upright in the correct position when you're shooting, but when you then pick up a bow and you actually draw that bow and you're putting an asymmetrical load on the body, it is very difficult to keep the body in alignment without pushing body parts out of position. So that's what I mean by core stability. So there's a couple of exercises. In fact, there's countless exercises out there that would help with core stability, but there's a few that are specifically good and very simple that don't require any kind of equipment or any other apparatus. So that would be simply the plank and side plank. So your usual front plank and your side planks. So what I want to do is I'm going to actually create a series of videos just explaining good, correct technique for these planks and also a progression of difficulty. So obviously everyone's going to be starting at a slightly different position with their core strength. So you can't just go into a full plank on your elbows because it's going to be very difficult and you're not going to be able to hold the position for very long. So also what you're probably going to end up with is poor technique and incorrect positioning. So I'm going to explain the progression to start with a much easier variation, and then once you can do that for a set amount of time, then you can increase to the next level of difficulty and so on. So I'm going to release that in a separate video so that you can keep it isolated so that you can actually then refer back to it. And again, this is something that we'll release to everybody. Okay, so core stability is hugely important for shooting a bow. Shooting a bow is probably very different to almost any other sport or discipline in that the body is actually not moving a whole hell of a lot. So you're holding your position, and so once you can get your position right, it's about making sure that it stays there, holds that position the whole way through the shot cycle, under load, and even after release. So core stability, super, super important, and actually very easy to train and get better at and improve that stability. Okay, the second thing, after you've got a good strong core solid base, would be what we call shoulder mobility or shoulder flexibility. So when we talk about shoulder, we're talking about shoulder and we're talking about the scapula. So basically the two work together because they're actually the same thing. Your scapula and the top of your shoulder is connected. So your shoulders and your scapulas are probably the most important things to get moving in the right way and having them positioned in the right way to get an effective shot setup and a shot routine. So what I mean by shoulder flexibility is that because of sort of modern environments, sitting behind the wheel of a car or sitting at a desk, generally what's happening is that our shoulders tend to hunch forward and we get imbalances in muscle flexibility and muscle strength around the entire shoulder. So obviously the shoulder has an incredible range of motion, more so than any other joint in the body, but a lot of people have lost the ability to use the scapulas and the shoulders to their full range of motion, to the full extent that they're actually able to do. So shoulder flexibility is super, super important because, like I said in the first part, you get your stability right, you get your core positioning set correctly, and then what happens is that when you lift up the shoulders, if you don't have the flexibility in the shoulders to get the arms and the shoulders into the right position for a shot setup, something else has to move, something else has to compromise to allow you to get into the position to get yourself behind the weight of the bow. And so, for instance, a typical example would be if I lift up my arm and I can't get the arm up without letting go of the rib cage down here, then what happens is I can get my arm into the correct position, but now I've compromised my body, I've now lost core connection, and I've got an asymmetrical positioning and balance of skeletal and muscle balance. So what we're really wanting to be able to do is hold the position of the body using that core stability, and then what we need to do is we have to be able to apply full range of motion with the shoulders and the scapulars. So again, I'm going to create a couple of videos. There'll probably be even more videos there on how to firstly test your scapular mobility, and then how to exercise it and how to practice and increase that range of motion. So over the years, and I've been doing this, been coaching for more than 10 years now, the clients and the students that accelerate the fastest in form development are the ones that have a good solid core stability and strength, and then the ones that also have very well developed muscle balance and flexibility in their shoulders and scapulars. And what that allows us to do is then, with very quick corrections from the coach, they don't have to go and actually train. They can already do it. They can just adjust the shoulders and scapulars into the position that we want them to. So it definitely helps, and you can make huge gains in your ability to shoot a bow just by working on those two things. Obviously everyone has a different starting point, so start small and then slowly increase your range of motion and increase your core stability and flexibility. Yeah, so I hope that makes sense. And so I'm going to just now go and create a couple more videos and tutorials about the specific exercises that you can do to focus on those 2 points.